convert, the one who enters the world of Islam, has one huge advantage over the born Muslim. One, and that is he doesn't have a Muslim heritage. When you become a Muslim, you don't have that, but you do have the vision of Dar al-Islam. You have the vision of the whole. You see the wonder of that world. That's given to you. That's your gift, is to see that wonder of that universal world.
Brother Ahmad, welcome again and always.
Thank you.
Now, you told me how you took the step into Islam, this time embracing it as a faith. Now, you've been busy working for the festival, that I'm sure that probably it didn't come as a surprise to many people that you embraced Islam, or did it?
You know, during that time, people weren't particularly interested. It wasn't like now.
It didn't make a difference to them.
No, it doesn't really make. And you know, there's a kind of a very English thing, which I think is also something which I've recognized. That people don't poke into your life. And of course, one keeps one's religion when you're with members of the non-Muslim community. You keep it to yourself. Yes, I do. I'm not somebody.
But they can start noticing that you're not drinking anymore.
Oh yeah, certainly. But then again,
that.
my society, the society which I moved in was a Muslim society pretty well.
What about immediate family?
I've always been seen as man sort of slightly Paul with his enthusiasms. So it's another enthusiasm, really, I suppose. I mean, it wasn't. I think they were happy. My parents, I think, were happy that my life was becoming more ordered. Because there's a tendency within the arts to be,
anarchic?
Yeah. And that was the biggest thing that happened to me as a Muslim, which is that although I've always been very conservative in many respects, it was basically the creation of a way of life in which the prayers become central. After all, we are here to worship.
Yes.
That's our prime purpose.
وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ.
This is it. So, in terms of the ordering of one's life, the year, Ramadan, I made my Hajj immediately after the festival, which is an incredible experience, as it was always for anyone who makes it, It was very special. But so my quest to discover the world of Islam, to live as much as possible in it, was hugely enhanced by actually becoming an insider. And of course, as the years have gone by, the religion has come to me more and more in terms of my understanding, my life and my love. I had a very interesting, because again, our time is too short together, because my life really is in two parts. One is my life through to the World of Islam Festival and my becoming a Muslim, and then my life from then through to now. And the process of discovering this world of Islam has simply continued.
Mm.
And I've been through...
Into discovering Islam itself.
Well, yes. I mean, in the sense that the two become one, really. I mean, it's a sort of endlessly supporting each other. And then, of course, I've had the huge, more than half my life, because they say that marriage is half of Islam, you know.
Yes.
Mine has been more than that, because I've had the most remarkable relationship with a woman who's a scholar, a fine scholar, who then started devoting her life to Arabic and the tafsir of Quran, and who's written and has become noted in her field, but has also been my prime sounding board in my work, in the way that I've been developing things. So that's...
And she embraced Islam at the same time?
No, she embraced Islam a little after I did. But the woman is such a remarkable creation. They really are. They are something. I've had 3 remarkable women in my life: my mother, my sister, who's the eldest in our family, and my wife. And women, the eyes of women are differently constituted to that of men. They have more rods in their eyes. They have a capacity to see. Did you know this?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
So they see what men don't see.
That's why men often think they're getting away with things. It's true. And women see everything. And they are, when you think about it, the mother has this huge love for the child. But that love goes out to everybody. And that's why the woman is always taking care of, looking at, finding out. She knows what's going on. She knows who's in trouble. The man is just like this. He's on his work or what he's doing. The women connects everything. They're the great connectors. And they sit at the center of a society which is normative, in the home, the center of the family, and every relationship that goes out from it. They are remarkable. And their knowledge, as I did this seminar in Qatar, where I had the ladies on one side and the men on the other. And I started by saying, ladies, I want to have a word with the boys. So please don't listen. Of course, they were all there. I said, I want to give you a very important piece of advice. You will never understand woman, but woman understands you. The woman, the subject of the woman, is the child, is the husband, is the parents, is the cousin. They are interested in their characters. They are concerned that they're in danger. I come up here, I have problems with my legs and things because of my condition. My wife says to Kashif, make sure he puts his feet up in between the takes. They know everything that's going on. And they have this wonderful mind that is able to see trouble and to see when somebody's in danger. They're interested in our moral existence.
But men don't appreciate that.
No. The play between the men and the women is the most glorious play. The relationship, the marriage between male and female is the most glorious thing. It is so rich. Now, of course, women are being made to look like men and to behave like men and to try and think like men.
That's why humanity is in crisis.
Absolute crisis. The families sunk and all that richness of relationships. You know, my wife is concerned about what this. She says to me, "He's gone and fallen over some grandchild." I mean, I know the grandchildren, but I don't know them like my wife. And I don't think I care about them in the way my wife cares about them. She's a woman. She has a well of that love.
And you need her support.
Without it, we men are pathetic.
True.
Without it, we men are pathetic.
That's why in the Quran, in Surah Al-Rum, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Please translate it. It is one of his signs that he created from you, from out of you, or he created for you, out of you, wives, so that you have tranquility with.
Yeah.
And he made love and mercy.
Oh, this is beautiful.
And in this are signs for those who contemplate, who think. And
I mean, beautiful.
What you described, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's consistent with what the verse is talking about.
Yes.
But many Muslims, regrettably, are completely oblivious.
This, by the way, that verse is the one which I always give to people who are getting married. Because I always say to them, we have a wonderful prayer which should be said every time you make your prayers when you're married, which is, it is Almighty Allah that places between the man and the woman the love and mercy. All we have to do is to pray for him to increase it.
Yes, indeed.
That's all. But we should continue to pray to increase that love and mercy. Mercy is so important. There's so little mercy today. So little mercy.
Now, let me just ask you about the books you have written so far. I've read several of them. I've read these two, and I've read the more recent ones, the one on Gaza,
yes,
and the one on Mizan.
Yeah.
And it's not always that you find people who embrace Islam, but then turn their own experiences and their own conclusions into such literature. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful literature because, I mean, someone like me who is born into Islam, some of what I read for you, actually, I haven't thought of it myself before. It's just wonderful that you're able to continue to deliver to us such conclusions, especially on Mizan.
Well, you know, I think the convert, the one who enters the world of Islam, has one huge advantage over the born Muslim. One. And that is, he doesn't have a Muslim heritage.
No package.
No, it doesn't. No, it's not a package. It's a wonderful thing. Every single place where Islam has settled, you know, custom has the force of law.
True.
That is the diversity, the beautiful diversity, which is completely in conformity with the unity. That is wonderful. To have that is such a blessing. But when you become a Muslim, you don't have that, but you do have the vision of Dar al-Islam. You have the vision of the whole. You see the wonder of that world. That's given to you. That's your gift, is to see that wonder of that universal world. So for me, it's been an endless joy to meet a Yemeni, or to meet somebody from Nigeria, or then to meet a Malay. And, and sitting in Cambridge for so many years as I have done, we get these wonderful students coming from all over the Muslim world. I remember one who came from Darfur, who told me about this valley, this beautiful valley that he came from, which is called something, I forget the name. And then there was another one who came from Swat Valley, before we'd heard of Swat, before all the catastrophe. He told me about the beauty of Swat. And this is what I constantly get. And each one has a taste, has a different taste. But when you become a Muslim, you see that unity. That's how I experienced it. That was the vision I was given.
But what I understand from you is that you are not distracted by the diversification.
Of course not. Diversity is just because it's not a diversity that is a difference. Fundamentally, it's a different themes in the symphony of unity. It's different colors of the rainbow. It's not separate. It's just the different coloring. It's the miracle of humanity, where all these different religions and different races and different, geographical areas all became a part of one world, in which unity was and Mizan was the great principle. So they're all variations in unity.
What fascinated me in the Mizan is that you highlight the idea, which should really, for any Muslim, be a given, that the whole purpose of Sharia, the law of Allah, is to establish that Mizan, that balance.
That life. And the Mizan is there in everything. And what is so beautiful is that you have the two revelations. You have the revelation of the creation. The creation is a revelation from Almighty Allah.
Yes.
It's a sacred world. All we can do is either conform and live according to its rules, or desecrate it.
And be at loss.
At loss. We can desecrate it. We can live in a manner that is not according to the sacred. And then we create havoc. We create chaos. We create suffering. We create misery. The Holy Quran arrives and is in complete conformity with that, with the creation. And the world that was created out of the Quran, the world of Islam, is in complete, it is a manifestation of the Mizan in all its aspects. You see, one of the things which modernity has done, the secular has done, is to collapse heaven and earth. There is only earth. So heaven has come down to earth in the concept of progress. We are going towards heaven on earth. That's the concept of progress, which has destroyed form and content.
I guess the Islamic concept of progress would be to ascend from earth to the heavens.
Exactly. That's it. And all that's happened is it's been collapsed, and and that is false. That is a complete denial of the reality. So what do you have? You have the creation of an unreal world. And that's how people are feeling now. They're feeling like aliens in their world. That somehow they don't belong.
And so much vacuum within.
Terrible vacuum. And it's destruction of the soul. It's an active destruction. It's actually absolutely destroying the soul.
Going back to the journey toward Islam,
Yeah.
how much of it was challenges? How much of it was opportunities?
I would say that the journey has been one of challenges, but what has kept me continuing on this journey is the vision of this world of Islam. I'm so concerned about, you see, the Muslims are, forgive me saying this, but on the whole, this doesn't apply to the great religious teachers and all these wonderful, the religion of Islam is completely intact.
Yeah.
We have wonderful teachers. We have wonderful sheikhs. Almighty Allah has given us everything that is required for us to be able to live the life of a Muslim according to his Deen. All the knowledge is there and the examples are there. The problem is how we understand the world in terms of history, in terms of the past, in terms of what has happened. That's the problem. And that's because we are looking at it through Western eyes. We're looking at it through we've been trained, educated into believing in the world in terms of the Western principles and ideas, the Western ideas of progress, of development, of evolution, of growth, all these concepts, and to believe in this modern world. And that's the problem. Because in that story, Islam has failed. You talk to Muslims, and they believe that their civilization actually in the end became stagnant. We had a golden age where it was a little bright time, and we handed that on to the West, and then the West made something of it. We went into stagnation and decline. That's the story that most Muslims hold and are taught. Why? Because in the Western story, Islam has failed. We have very few Nobel Peace Prizes. There are more Israeli Nobel Peace Prizes and, or scientific prizes. And you've heard it all before. I mean, it goes on and on. So what is the Muslim lives in a world where also there's another story I used to be told. This used to depress me when I was talking to Muslims. They say to me, well, of course, after the Prophet, the four rightly guided caliphs, the Salah, after them, everything goes downhill. With the Umayyads, it's finished.
Which is not true.
It's not nonsense. True, it's insane.
It's utter nonsense.
It's insane. I mean, imagine the insult to Almighty Allah, that he should bring into the world his final religion of perfection, and it should go fut within a few years of the founder. I mean, it's an absurd idea.
It's the political format that changed, but the Deen itself remains intact.
It was more than this. The Holy Quran produced that world of Islam. The form, the manifestation of the Mizan was perfect in its form to support the way of life. The perfect way of life, the way of life as it should be lived. And the beauty of that form is that form allowed for the greatest of rulers and the greatest of tyrants, the most just judges and corrupt judges, the most generous and pious merchants, and the most devious merchants. In other words, it allowed for the whole drama of life to be lived to its fullest. It allowed the philosopher to arrive at the highest point in thought, and it allowed everything to happen, and the craftsman to arrive at the finest craftsmanship, the merchant to become the greatest of merchants, the most pious of merchants, to carry Islam halfway across the world. It allowed for excellence in every vocation to be fully realized, but it also allowed for the corruption, which is the inevitable aspect of existence, of the human condition, to happen without it destroying the form. There are two things which Wael Halak, the historian, has produced. One which is coming up shortly. The first one is his Impossible State.
Yes.
This book taught me, opened my eyes to love the Sharia. I never loved the Sharia before that.
Subhanallah.
I hadn't understood it. That book made me realize the perfection of that system.
Do you think he is a Muslim?
I'm not going to say, I have no, this is not my knowledge.
Okay.
He's a man who's written a book which opened my heart and understanding to the Sharia. How much do I owe him?
Oh.
Now he's doing a very important book, which is being launched, which is to do with the governance in Islam in terms of rulers. And that is going to be illuminating, because the system which developed in terms of rulership is also remarkable. And we don't know it.
And that's coming up soon?
That's coming up this year, this coming year, this year.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. So what I'm saying really is that the Mizan is a thesis which I've been working on for the last 15 years, which is really the culmination of all my experience as an organizer, as a man who had the benefit of living in three completely different worlds, experiencing them from inside and then seeing them from the outside. It began with my being educated as a member of the British Empire, and I experienced that from inside. Then in the 60s, I experienced being a part of the Great Cultural Revolution, and I experienced the empire from the outside as a critic. And then I became a Muslim. First of all, I was seeing Islam from the outside. And then I became a Muslim, and I saw the rebellion for what it was. For what it was, a rebellion. But of course, that rebellion has now become the establishment. The philosophers of that period, Foucault, and all the philosophers who have disintegrated knowledge, have now become the leaders. And all the ideas, the sexual revolution, and all the different revolutions that took place in the 60s, all of that is now the establishment. So I've watched that take place as my own life has returned to that conformity to the moral norms, of which I was very much aware when I was a child, because I was brought up as a Christian, but have now been renewed in me, within me as a Muslim, the realization of their importance and how we have to abide by them and live good lives, moral lives. That's the basis. That's the norm.
Well, Brother Ahmad, Paul Keeler, it's been really a great pleasure, an honor as well. And I thank you very much for coming to see us here in London. You've made the journey from Cambridge. And for me, it's been worthwhile and it's been wonderful.
Well, I'm so grateful to you for inviting me. And I just, please forgive me for my many incoherences, I'm sure, but
not at all, not at all.
I've enjoyed this encounter because this year is the 50th anniversary of the World of Islam Festival. So it's very much on my mind. And what I've realized more than anything else is that in understanding one's past, I realize that Almighty Allah has opened doors and closed doors and presented one with people who have illuminated one's life, placed one in positions which are, and of course my period as an actor, because I really loved theatre, I enjoyed the theatre. When I entered Islam, I really understood that aspect of Almighty Allah being the producer. And we are just the actors.
Well, we are all subject to him.
He gives us our script.
Yeah.
And
sure.
we try to do it as best we can.
That's what qadar is.
Yes.
Isn't it? Qada'ullahi wa qadaruh.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.